Hello and welcome to what will soon be the very first tribal council of Can You Survive District 13. I am here in the tribal council area with host Cam, who is calling in the players right now. So let's take a look and see who's joining us at tribal council, because we know that Goddard lost the challenge, but that doesn't mean the entire Goddard tribe is here with us. So filing into tribal council now are Jess, Champagne, Adore, Callan, Sean, and Lex.
I fall during tribal. You can't laugh at me.
No promises. No promises.
Oh,
They are very unstable. Try to find a footing for that.
It's okay. What happened to me?
The ground's uneven.
Yeah, very.
all right. Everything falling into place here at our very first tribal council.
All right, Goddard. Welcome to Tribal Council. As you know, fire represents your life in this game. When it's out, so are you, and the cannons will boom. If you receive the most votes of this Tribal Council, grab a torch, bring it up here, and we will snuff it. Now let's talk. So, Champagne, talk to me about last night. You finally got your tribes, you went back to your camp. How much of last night was strategizing and planning for this moment, and how much of it was just getting to know each other?
So when we got back to tribal, we did or camp. We were grabbing some big logs. We were putting out a tarp, finding some sticks. We made a fire, which is great. And I shouldn't say we, because I didn't have any part in it. But yeah, vibes were great. And then we started playing some games. It was really fun. And then we started chit-chatting with the other tribe, and they were like hardcore, like going to work, like on their campsite. And we were like, oh wow, can't relate. But no, vibes are good. We were just chit-chatting, having fun. And then when we woke up this morning, we were like, okay, we should build a shelter. Kind of too late.
So, Callan, would you say, last night there was no plan coming into today for what would happen in the event that you wound up in this seat?
I personally did not really witness people like going off and having side conversations or anything. It seemed to be just more general talk about like our experience so far and camp preparation life. So we did go over like strengths and weaknesses of everyone to kind of think through what some challenges may be. So that was helpful in having our minds somewhat ready to go in.
Okay. Adore, what do you feel like went into, speaking of this twist where not all of you are here at this tribal council, what happened during your tribe's discussion to end up with this group of 6?
Well, like Callan said, we talked about strengths and weaknesses last night. And I actually just mentioned like one of the things I said was my strength was communication. And we talked about being a caller as making sense. And so when we realized that there was a caller, I felt like I kind of had to step up. And so that was a lot of where our roles came from, was that discussion last night. And realizing that if people didn't step up, then the best person for the job might not have ended up in that role. And so everyone stepped up.
Okay. So it was a true volunteer situation, not necessarily a voluntold situation. Okay. Jess, how much does this twist change your calculus for this vote? I mean, did you come in with hoping that you were going to be sitting with X, Y, and Z votes, and now you have to completely recalculate, or did you already have a pretty good relationship with a lot of people here?
I feel like I have a good relationship with a lot of people in this group. Yeah, I of course there's some recalculating going from a vote where you think there's going to be 12 people to a vote where there's 6 people. That changes the numbers around a lot. But I think yesterday was really good for building a foundation of like connecting with each other without having to worry about the impending tribal council last night. So I think that allowed me to feel a little more comfortable in these conversations because there's sort of a base there that is sort of other than the game. It feels like we've just sort of like been getting to know each other, which is cool.
Yeah. Like speaking of yesterday, I feel like that can be somewhat of a two-edged sword, right? You're there with everyone, you're able to make all these connections, but you're also witnessing everyone making those connections. How much were you yesterday trying to balance, oh, I want to meet everyone and build all these relationships without thinking like everyone's seeing me make all these relationships?
It's a really hard balance. I think that's the game of Survivor is all about balance and trying to figure out how to do that the best way possible. And to Jess's point, I mean, there's so many of us, right? And just trying to talk to people and get to know everybody. I mean, it's a lot. So does that answer your question? I'm so sorry.
I guess how did you try to balance that?
I'm an open book. I think for me, it's all about personal experiences. I'm not afraid to share about what I'm going through in my personal life and just bring that up to the game as well. And so I think,
Sorry.
so you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. No, yeah. Sorry. To answer your question, it's more as like I think for me, like respect is earned, not given, and for me, I'm happy to kind of share my stories, my experience, kind of bond over those shared experiences with people. Because things I've gone through, I'm sure that Sean's gone through, Callan, we've all gone through similar things, right? So it kind of starts with you being open and being okay, being a little vulnerable, and that's okay to do, especially in a game like Survivor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I would approach that.
Sean, the other kind of factor in this game are the districts. So you spend all day together, visually paired up with another person who's on the other tribe. Is today's vote, or even for yourself, a factor of, are you worried that they're trying to split up a pair or anything like that? Especially, someone who had tied for the lead in yesterday's challenges.
Tied for second place. That specifically, I didn't hear come up, though I know like throughout some conversations, I was like, wait, who is your district partner? So I think it's a lot of like planning ahead even now to being like, who do I want to align myself with now? And where does that lead me potentially in the future once we swap or merge or, whatever may come, to just keep it in mind. Who else, like, if it is a package, who else is coming with that?
Interesting. Yeah. So, Callan, I mean, how much are we planning 4, 5, 6 steps down the line at this vote? Are we just planning for this vote?
I think people are trying to think about what has the least amount of backlash when they go back to camp, since it is only 6 of us. There's 6 other people waiting. So I feel like people are trying to figure out, okay, how can we keep the tribe dynamics good when we go back? How can we keep the tribe strong? And at the end of the day, we don't know what the number is going to be on the future challenges. Could be 6, 7, 8, So I someone was sorry. As I was saying, so I do think, at least from this group, people are going to also expect some of the people waiting to step up next time, since we all did this time.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the folks waiting back at camp. How much of your champagne decision here is based on what I think my allies would want that are back at camp?
Yeah, I think like team camaraderie, kind of what Callan said, what would have the least amount of impact going back into camp. I mean, we all have friends on our tribe that aren't here right now, so we want to make sure at least we don't ruffle too many feathers. So yeah, so what they think does play a part in how we are voting.
Okay.
Or how I am voting.
Adore, do you feel like this vote is going to be mostly based off of future challenge strength or social dynamics?
It's hard because this is like a compacted version of the game, right? So if it was the full Survivor, maybe future challenge strength would play more into it. But because it's so short, social dynamics. So, I've heard both strategies come into play during conversations and things like that. But at the end of the day, we really don't know how this game is going to evolve. And I think I'm just going with my gut, because I'm a running on vibes kind of guy, as my girlfriend would say. So we're running on vibes.
All right. Well, I'm ready to see where those vibes end up, unless anyone has anything left to say. No? All right. We will start with you, Jess.
All right, and there you have it. The first tribal council about halfway in the books, and now the players are heading off to vote. And you'll notice that I am heading off as well in the other direction, and that is because it is now time for a little something that we here at Can You Survive call tea time. So, for those of you that are new to Can You Survive, tea time is the time where I tell you all the tea that I heard that's going on in the game. So, I will be chit chatting about all of our lovely players back there that are voting. They just sit silently, so rather than, stare at them in silence, we get to have a little kiki, a little tea time, and we get to hang out. So, you might be wondering why there are only 6 players there when we started with 24 and 12 are on that tribe. Well, there is a little twist this year called Volunteers Tribute, which means that anyone that is participating in the challenge is also going to tribal council, and anyone that is not is not. So that is why we only have 6 people. And despite only having 6 people, we have 12 people's worth of drama. So let's get into it. There are 3 potential targets of the 6 for this first tribal council. So yeah, I have my little tea time notebook here that I will fill you in on everything. So let's get into it. Where am I going to start? Let's, all right, so let's start with Adore. Adore is closest to Ange and Cod, who, as you might notice, are on his tribe but not at tribal council with him. He was being told that the plan was Callan, but he was a little worried that perhaps he was actually the vote, not Callan, and that everyone was just telling him that because Lex told him that his name is coming up. And you would think that might garner a little trust with Adore with Lex, but no. Adore feels like Lex is playing really politically and is kind of doing the PR thing, so he's sus about him. And speaking of sus, he's also sus that of Jess, because once Adore heard that his name was coming up, he went around to ask people about it, and he caught Jess in a lie about it. He's also apparently not vibing super hard with Callan in the camps, and we just heard Adore talk about how he goes off vibes. So that's a lot of people that he's not super tight with that have his life in their hands. So yeah, crazy. Let's see. Speaking of Lex, Lex is in our very first named alliance of the season called the Smiley Alliance. We love it. So Lex is in the Smiley Alliance with Jess and Reday. He was hoping that both Jess and Reday would volunteer in the challenge along with him. However, Jess did, as we saw, Reday did not. He's also feeling he was feeling good. He is feeling good with Sean. He was also feeling good with Champagne, but more on that in a second asterisk. And he told Adore that his name has come up, but he actually wants to target Adore because Lex feels like Adore is stealing the spotlight from him. Lex, as we learned last night in the player interviews, is very much like a star of the show kind of guy, and so he doesn't like that. However, Lex originally heard that the plan was Callan, and so he was like, all right, let's do it, whatever. Except for at some point later in this whole strategy session, um, Lex told Sean that Champagne is lying about others saying Sean's name. So now the plan might shift to Champagne, another person who is one of the 3 targets. And the person that originally was wanting to target Champagne, I think, was Callan, because Callan was hearing Adore, but she wanted to target Champagne because literally at the beginning of this whole strategy sesh, she apparently went up to Callan and said, "Okay, it's you, relax." But then Callan did a little detective work, and no one else said that. So now she was going to Lex and Jess to try and get the target onto Champagne. So TBD, and perhaps Lex is enlisting Sean. So I do not know. Speaking of Sean, he wishes he was on Caribou because he vibed a lot more with those people. And let's see. Yeah, I will start heading back as I continue to tell y'all about it. Champagne, meanwhile, wants like a girls and a gays alliance, but does think it's Callan. And hilariously, she was telling our confessional person that her number one is someone named Nade. There is no Nade in our cast. And she kept being like, oh, I'm not totally sure about the name, but they're doubling my number one. So I do think that's Ride. Let's see. I think that pretty much catches us up. Just a casual, 3 potential targets, and I have literally no idea who's coming home. So let's go back to tribal council and find out. All right, we are back at tribal council now. Looks like Cam is not back yet with the vote count, so let's say hello to the players while we wait for his return. Waiting silently and in suspense, but smiling, so we love that vibe, are Jess, Champagne, Callan, Adore, Sean, and Lex.
All right, before I get to the votes, if anybody has an idle or advantage to play and would like to do one, do that. Now would be the time to do so. Okay, once the votes are read, the decision is final. The person will be asked to grab a torch, have it snuffed, and leave the tribal council area immediately. I'll get to the votes. First vote, Callan. Second vote, Adore. Third vote, Callan. Fourth vote, Callan. Fifth vote, and the first person voted out of Can You Survive District 13, Callan. That's 4, that's enough.
Represent your charity.
Yeah.
Yes. Represent your charity. Yes. Love you, girl. Root for all of you. Yes.
There we go. Okay. Callan, the tributes have spoken.
Ooh.
All right, first tributes have fallen, but there are many more to go. We'll have you exit the camp this way, and we'll get the next challenge started soon.
All right, you heard it from Cam. We are about to get right into the next challenge. So you will not want to miss that. We will be back live in probably 5 to 10 minutes. So keep it locked here. You're not going to want to miss a moment of this action all day long and all week long. This cast is amazing. They are super hyped to be here. They are super nuts, apparently, if that very first tea time was any indication. And I am super excited to see how everyone moves. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you very soon.